I started acting professionally when I was 11 years old, so very young. And I started writing music about the same time. And when I was 12 years old, I had an encounter with God that changed my life. And that set a course for me that was could have been very different, I would say, if that had not happened. So at that point, when I was about 12 years old, for some reason, I realized how far away I was from God, and how much I needed Him, and how much I needed so much mercy and grace that it changed everything. So from that point on, there has been so much struggle, but it's been a struggle with God. I began to struggle with my faith and what I was doing in the world, all of those things, and I continue to struggle. But one of the things I love about the Orthodox faith is salvation is a struggle. It's a journey, it's a process. So I feel more at home in the Orthodox Church because I want to continue to work out my salvation and wrestle with God. It's all I'm living for. In the Orthodox faith, Christ suffered for our salvation. Without the cross, I could never be healed, but His crucifixion and resurrection, He says to me, take up your cross and follow me. So it's not only paying for my sins, but it's an example. I have to follow this. And the Orthodox Church, through the lives of the saints and the Holy Fathers, they live this struggle. They live this voluntary acceptance of taking up our cross and following Christ. And that's where grace is found. And for me, that is lived in the Orthodox Church in a much more profound, real way that I haven't found this in any other church. Yeah, in any other church. Yeah. Social media is a very difficult thing that's happened to society. I think technology in general it can be used for good or for evil, but there's a great danger when new technology is given and when it's dispersed too quickly and it changes the way human beings relate to each other, to themselves, and to the world. It's very dangerous. So I don't think it's evil in and of itself, but I think it's being used for the purposes of money in a way that is having very evil consequences on society. I told you. This time you've gone too far. This time you've gone too far. I think we should be cautious because there are dangers to how these things affect the soul. So young people, for instance, because of social media, because of the new technology of the last 10, 15 years on their phones, there's so much more anxiety and depression and suicide and bullying that comes through the device.
The screen.
It's addiction. And so that's the danger. If you have it just a little bit, it's okay. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it. And the people who designed these things knew. They understood how addictive these things were. So they understood that they were creating something that would feed into addiction. I have 3 children, and so my wife and I, we talk to our kids about this often, and we try to help them approach these technologies with balance and caution. But of course there are blessings, when you're on your phone and you can FaceTime with somebody across the world. That's amazing. It's wonderful. So there are many blessings, but you have to be careful because you can become a slave to the technology instead of using the technology. The whole system is set up to be obsessed and addicted to materialism and consumerism and constantly buying and accumulating wealth. And it's very difficult to unplug from this factory of this mentality. And the scriptures, Christ said you cannot serve both God and mammon and worldly possessions, because you'll either love one and hate the other. So there is this divide, this tension. I think the primary thing, the first thing, is the motive of the heart. As it says, the love of money is the root of all evil. It's so if you love it, if you're attached to it, if that is your God, then you are connecting very strongly with the dark forces in the world. On the other side, there are people throughout history that have been blessed with a certain amount of wealth and have used it for good. And so this is the balance, to say the heart motivation has to be right, but the wealth and the money needs to be used for good and not to store up everything just for power. I'm thankful that my parents, they raised me with this sense, this belief in Christ, and my parents didn't have a strong attachment to money, so I'm thankful for that. But discovering the Orthodox faith and journeying there, going to the Holy Mountain, and it's changed so much in terms of how I see the world, how I understand differently how the world is. For me, becoming Orthodox, it opened my eyes to see in a very different way how things are, and that includes how how the governments run and how the system is built on profit and consumerism. The Orthodox Church, you see the lives of the saints, you see the monks and the nuns, and they have a vow of poverty. They have nothing. And so this is powerful to see. But only the fire on the hill of slain, only the fire gave me back my name. For me, the ancient faith it's beautiful in its simplicity and its humility, and it doesn't change with the wind. It stays the course, you know, and it has a sense of silence and stillness and humility that's it's very much needed in the world. So I hope that Orthodoxy will continue to have a voice in America in particular, because many people love Christ and they're fed up with their experience in all these different churches. And I think if people had an experience with the pristine faith, it can be very healing. At least I can only speak for myself. That was my experience. I found it very healing for me. Living in an ultraviolet empire. Living in an ultraviolet empire. I came to Greece this time for the premiere of the documentary on Elder Joseph the Hesychist. And I filmed it last year on the Holy Mountain, and so I came for the premiere, and it was a very, very special experience.
From the beginning of his renunciation of the world, he began his great supernatural struggles against the passions and the demons, from which he emerged victorious and untroubled by them. He became a teacher for his fellow monks and an intercessor for the whole world, hidden away in his rough little hut.
I also had a few extra scenes to film, so we wanted to add a few little things. So I spent the last 4 days filming around Athens.